right now the MO is the young kids are the ones that are sent out to do the crime because the older gangbangers know that they don't get treated like adults.
If it's killing, they should extend the sentence, but I don't think that it's something that should just be... I understand, like, the cusp of 17, a lot of them are doing that, and then they're also bragging in court that they're not going to get in trouble for it. So I think they should extend the sentence, obviously, but I do not think that giving them no chance at all at the age of 14 is wise either.
Okay.
Just personal opinion.
What do you think, Elad? You're fairly, the law is the law kind of dude.
So, me, Serge, and Tate actually witnessed these YNs firsthand the other weekend in Washington, D.C., and it's actually extremely odd. It's a group of, like, 20, 30 some odd very young kids. Like, you could tell in their faces nobody's probably above the age of 17, as young as maybe even 13 and 14, being followed by like 3 or 4 different cop cars, and they're just running around the streets throwing things and yelling. I guess some groups may be more aggressive than others. Obviously assaulting somebody's messed up, and like you should go to jail as a result of that. But again, I don't know, at the age of 14 might be a little bit young to be trying to charge people as adults. And I haven't heard as many of the cases of them murdering people, but if you murder somebody, I think you should be charged as an adult for that crime in particular.
I don't know what the murder rate is in D.C., but I know there was a time recently in the past 10 or so years where D.C. was the murder capital of the United States.
You darn tootin'.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is 190. Oh,
wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and the problem with like crime in cities like DC and New York and Boston as well is the tolerance for crime is far lower because it's like a very walkable city. So you're actually interacting with these points where crime will occur a lot more.
The tolerance for crime is lower?
Yeah. So like if you live in like Memphis or Detroit, the tolerance for crime is much higher because you can just drive past it on your way to work and back to your house. You're not actually interacting with the criminal aspect as much. But yeah, if you're somewhere like DC, you have to walk down the street, you have to take the subway, you have to do this, that, and the other. So your actual sense of crime, even though because leftists will always be like, well, if you compare it to like Jackson, Mississippi, and it's like, well, yeah, but in Jackson, you don't ever see it. You're just going to Kroger and back, where in D.C., you're walking around, you're going to bars, you're taking the train.
Yeah.
So you're going to interact with it a lot more, and it's much more unacceptable for a high amount of crime.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that the Second Amendment is basically non-existent in Washington, D.C., so restoration of the rights of the American people might be a deterrent to criminals in the district, but I know that the members of Congress and the support staff around them are generally not particularly fond of that idea. But
See, I think that's where the Ted Nugent rule comes in. Just have the Second Amendment and don't listen to the state.
I personally agree with that as well.
Yeah, I think you should just be allowed to carry a firearm to protect yourself. I'm not going to say that's what I do.
No.
Maybe. They took it from me before I got on the plane today. But they didn't take my wooden one. And I learned that from John Malkovich in The Line of Fire. You just make a wooden one.
Yeah. And
Get into any stadium.
All right.
These are facts.
So I feel like for the past, 40, 50 years in our country, we have been seeing groups of quote-unquote youth, which is a funny euphemism to use here. I think we all know exactly what we're talking about, but we need to use this stupid
young
euphemism.
people.
We're talking about like black teens. We're talking about black teens running around usually in cities and committing different types of crimes. I think we saw in Cincinnati the other weekend where they were like just random adults assaulted. Maybe they might have yelled at each other, but it resulted in multiple different assaults. And it's interesting when we choose to pay more attention to them. And what we're going to do about that, is up to the government, and we'll see. But I feel like these are always happening in the background. Every so often, and sometimes it's only a local news story, and then sometimes the president decides to Truth Social about it and make it a national news story. But like these assaults are happening throughout our country all the time, and it's just interesting when we decide to make it national news instead of
what do you think
local news.
The factor is? What do you think it is that makes it?
Crime, socioeconomic factors.
What is the thing that makes it become a national story?
Well, sometimes it's just so shocking you can't deny.
Well, the media.
Yeah.
That's who it is. That's what decides. Literally only the media, and like if the races were portrayed in the right way, for most of the media to decide to pick it up and like put it up the the chain of command, then that's what goes. And it's a national news story because the president decided to talk about it now, and it's going to go as far as
For this one, yeah, but when it comes to the one that you mentioned in Cincinnati, that was trying to be.
It became a national news story.
That one. That was actually, it was a fairly grassroots kind of thing because the media and the municipality was trying to suppress the story. They didn't want it to get out. They didn't want to talk.
Didn't a white guy though knock out the woman?
I don't know.
I believe a white guy did knock out the woman, but then black people were piling on and kicking the guy at the jazz festival.
I think he shoved her. Yeah.
Yeah, but then black people were also pulling people off of, the guy. Like, it was a group thing where a lot of people were involved. Mm-hmm. So depending on what site you were watching, it was white versus black, but then there was the reality of a lot of people were trying to help and a lot of people weren't.
Wasn't it allegedly because somebody called another person the N-slur?
Supposedly, but I don't even know if that's what it was.
Yeah, I've heard people make that argument, but I believe if you watch the video, the attack had initiated, and then the dreaded N slur was uttered.
Not that name calling should justify violence.
Absolutely not. I think that's the most ridiculous argument that people make is, oh well, they had it coming, or the idea that like, well, there are consequences for things you say. I mean, sure, but jail is a consequence for that kind of.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.